I'm David Sponheim, and what we're about to find out is the truth that Jeffrey Epstein is alive. He was spotted August 30th. A drone flew over his location at St. James Island, Orgy Island, and spotted him looking up. We have absolute proof. And there is absolutely no reason to trust William Barr, our Attorney General, in investigating this. His father, Donald Barr, was the first person to hire Jeffrey Epstein at the Dalton Prep School. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I got to tell you, this Epstein case is really dogging me, and I thought I'd do a special broadcast on this. We've got a tremendous amount of information. All of it is extremely important, and it's very important that we get this message out that Jeffrey Epstein is alive. And I'm not making that up. Good evening. I'm David Sponheim, running for president in 2020 for americasthirdparty.com. You can actually see our show every night from 5 to 10 p.m. live, and you can watch what we do. We are dedicated to finding the truth, and we are not biased. We are not leaning toward Trump. We're not leaning toward Biden and the Democrats. We're leaning right in the middle. We're a centrist organization, and we are dedicated to finding the truth. I'm hearing a lot of people from the QAnon group pretty disappointed that they've got no leads now, and the Jeffrey Epstein case is completely dead in the water. They've dropped the criminal case, and Virginia Giuffre is probably not going to receive the attention that she deserves. No mention of Ghislaine Maxwell publicly, nationally. She seems to be relatively protected. We've heard news that maybe there's going to be a release of documents from her. We debunked the picture of her at the In-N-Out Burger a few weeks ago. We know that that was fake. And we believe that this story is so deep and so important that we have to keep the ball rolling and keep discussing it. So what I'm going to do is take a look at some of the pertinent information. We all remember the story of Jeffrey Epstein and how his butler found the Holy Grail. He found all of these numbers, and these have been redacted to protect these people, but Donald Trump was the number one person on that list of people involved with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island, St. James Island. So we're now seeing things like Alan Dershowitz testified that he never saw Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and then he had to say later that she gave him a back rub. So, I mean, all of these conflicts in testimony are out there in the record. Courtney Love, close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, a lot of people, very important people. Ehud Barak of Israel, very important, extremely important people around the world. In fact, we're going to be taking a look at some of those people that got to know Jeffrey Epstein and have perhaps met him on the island. Yeah, so let's take a look at some of these up-close issues. But first off, let's take a look at the picture of Jeffrey Epstein that was found. This is real, folks. This is actually a photograph of him on August 30th. Now, supposedly he died August 10th, but he was there August 30th assessing damage from the island. And the island itself had a tremendous amount of storm damage from Dorian. But these guys were seen photographed looking straight up at the camera. And this photograph has not gone national. In fact, a search for this is almost non-existent online. So when you're seeing this on 153news.net, you're one of the few people that are actually watching it. It's out there. It's from a series of drone footages acquired by Rusty Shackelford's account, whoever that is, who on YouTube. He has a tremendous amount of subscribers, 46,000 subscribers. So people have seen it, but no one has gone farther and deeper into this. Now, the Donald Barr connection. Let's take a look at Donald Barr. His William Barr's father. Now, William Barr is our current Attorney General. He hired Jeffrey Epstein at the Dalton Prep School, which was comprised mostly of little girls, in which he actually, Jeffrey Epstein was a teacher there without having actually received any degree from college. So Donald Barr, William Barr, our Attorney General's father, was at that location at the Dalton Prep School to give Jeffrey Epstein his first job. And one has to ask the question, why would Donald Barr write a book like Space Relations which is about kind of a kinky child. Children are involved in rape in this book. It's got weird, kinky space sex slave trade going on. And that's another very strange aspect of this. But then when you look deeper into this and ask, will William Barr do anything to investigate this? The question is not really, will he? Really, the answer is no, he won't. And it's because of his deep connections to Donald Barr, his father, and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm asking that there be a grand jury investigation into this entire case, and I'm hoping that that happens in the next year.
Correctional Center over the weekend regarding Jeffrey Epstein. This sex trafficking case was very important to the Department of Justice and to me personally. It was important to the dedicated prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and to our FBI agents who investigated the case and were preparing it for trial. Most importantly, this case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserved the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. The FBI and the Office of Inspector General are doing just that. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability. But let me assure you that this case will continue on against anyone who was complicit with Epstein. Any co-conspirators should not rest easy. The victims deserve justice, and they will get it.
Well, I'm not sure how justice is going to come around if William Barr's father was the guy that got Jeffrey Epstein involved with young girls. I mean, these are serious allegations about William Barr, and we need to have them examined. And I think William Barr should recuse himself on this investigation, not actually lead it. Now, there should have been a grand jury investigation by now, but we haven't seen any. We haven't seen any progress whatsoever, which is troubling. There are a lot of people who have been implicated in the Epstein case, powerful people in the alleged sex ring. And I think we should take a look at some of those people first off. But the real pending question is how many people at the top of this pyramid of people that knew Jeffrey Epstein, how many people were aware of what was going on? And you see a loop of people, including Donald Trump, in this thing. Like I said earlier, he was the #1 person on the blacklist of people that were calling up and getting support from Jeffrey Epstein. We know that Donald Trump met with Jeffrey Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. There were allegations that Donald Trump had relations with a woman named Katie at the age of 13 at Mar-a-Lago with Jeffrey Epstein standing by her, according to her testimony. And remember, Justice for Katie, she dropped the case. She was so frightened for her life that she dropped the case and will not pursue it. So we have to look at that as just an allegation right now. But then all these other people are involved. And then the connection to Prince Andrew is very significant. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But I want to take a look at the picture of the body of Jeffrey Epstein and decide whether it really was Jeffrey Epstein. So bear with me while I bring this up. Here it is. This is Jeffrey Epstein's death picture on the far edge of this picture right here, away from my face. And this is, of course, Jeffrey Epstein's face. And I want you to look at the nose in particular. Take a look at the nose of the person that died and tell me that that is the same nose as this person in the picture, Jeffrey Epstein. And the answer clearly is no. Ironically, the nose knows. So you can see a distinct difference in the shape of the nose. The curvature of the nose is significant in the dead picture. You can see it's got a very big slope right there, whereas his nose is virtually straight. And then the nostrils are different too. And that's not the only part that's different. The more you look at this picture, the more you'll realize that the ear is different as well. And we can give you more photographs of that, but close up, as we look at the ear, enlarge the ear of the dead person, you can see there's bruising too, which implies struggle, which means that the coroner's assessment that he killed himself is completely bogus. Not to mention all the information around the death, but you can clearly see their ears are different completely. So it's not Jeffrey Epstein who was cremated. And apparently they cremated him to get rid of his body so quickly that they didn't. Now that's meaning that they never cremated Jeffrey Epstein. He's still alive. Yeah. Whoever the person is, we don't know. It was not Jeffrey Epstein. His involvement has gone deep into the very backbone of American politics, and we now see kind of a glimpse of the corruption that is lingering in our two-party system. Now, I'm trying to appeal to people who are still stuck on the QAnon theories that Donald Trump somehow is stopping the deep state. No. Donald Trump has always protected Jeffrey Epstein, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have always protected Jeffrey Epstein. And let's not forget that in the testimony from former Labor Secretary Costa, he didn't give Jeffrey Epstein a big sentence in 2007 because he was told by the FBI that Jeffrey was in the intelligence field to back off. Now, that's a serious statement from a very important person like Labor Secretary Acosta. And I can't tell you the specifics of what he was told because that's all he said. So if we are being right now kept in the dark because Jeffrey Epstein has lots of dirt on political officials that he uses as blackmail, then he's being kept in the loop, and there's nothing we can do to prevent that from happening other than expose it. And that's what we're doing. Now listen to the early tapes of Jeffrey Epstein and how he saw his island. This is very telling.
But within on my own island, or on my own ranch, I can think the thoughts I want to think. I can do the work I want to do. I have freedom to explore as I see fit. People would always call me and say, could you come look at my problems? Could you come see my situation? Can you tell me what you think? And I started with J. Epstein and Company, I think in 1982 or 3 or something. And I said, I would only take you if you had $1 billion or more.
So he would always do it if he got $1 billion. Okay. Yeah, he would do it. He'd help people if they got $1 billion. So this man was dealing in billions of dollars. A lot of people are wondering, how did he get all that money? I mean, he built a temple on his property on St. James Island. This was the temple at the height of its existence. And we can definitely see an owl at the front of that temple. And we'll show you pictures of the temple now and how it's changed. And we'll show you some shocking photographs of what appear to be beds inside that are stained in urine. Very strange. Some people believe this is an elevator down to a dungeon. Any number of things, but this is a very strange edifice. And the statues have been removed as well as the dome. So who knows? Maybe he added. Okay, we're taking a look at more in-depth information about Jeffrey Epstein. This was a quote from him. He collects people. He owns people. He can damage people. It's a story about the sociopathy of Jeffrey Epstein. But we're finding out more information. One of his recruiters, this man who was a talent agent, Jean-Luc Brunel, is missing and has been missing for a few weeks now. No one knows where he is. But he was spotted 2 months before Jeffrey Epstein was incarcerated, right out there in Uruguay with this woman in Uruguay. And I'm sure this woman is underage. Just looking at her, you can tell. You can't see from the eyes, but Jean-Luc is now missing. Jean-Luc Brunel, very suspicious. We have some photographs that Scissor Fight brought up that is very interesting stuff. This is from his collection of a drone footage tour of the island and of this particular temple. And let's take a look inside and see what this is. It's very suspicious. Closing in on this. It looks like there's two mattresses inside there. And we're looking at the mattresses. They appear to be, get them in a better light here, yellowish in nature. So, yeah, we're looking at yellowed stained mattresses. Right. Yellowed stained mattresses. Look at that. Very strange that they would be yellowed stained and the plastic covered. Now, it just so happens that recent footage of this particular temple, this is the one that original photographs show, had an owl on the front of it and a dome over it. You can see that recent pictures show it boarded up. This is a recent flyby. So somebody has gotten to the island, and it wasn't the NYPD and FBI. NYPD and FBI were simply looking for papers, it seems. They didn't come out and board it up. So somebody on the island is boarding this up so no one can look in. And it does look like kind of a fortress now. You can see it's got all the aspects of a potential fortress. Now, there's also some suspicious things about the island that look like underground bunkers. See that? Very strange things. So we're looking at potential underground bunkers that could veritably store a tremendous amount, if not lead to a complete underground series of tunnels. Very strange and suspicious. And this too, this was taken from a different photograph on the same day that they saw Jeffrey Epstein living. This is a huge underground complex, it seems, covered up with a gateway to it. It's seemingly, yeah, you can do a lot under there, whatever the heck that is. But the big tell-all is Jeffrey Epstein is indeed alive. We have photographs of him right here. So no one can deny what we're seeing right with our own very eyes. Now there's ample evidence of Epstein getting tremendous amount of money early on. And I'm going to show you a picture here of where his money started, really. There's a photograph here of him getting $29 million from a Powerball win. Yeah. And it went to the Zorro Ranch, which according to this article is, yeah, it's based at the Zorro Ranch. Is the winning ticket went to the Zorro Ranch, which is Jeffrey Epstein's location out there in the middle of the desert. So that's suspicious. And you remember he just mentioned his ranch or island was a place he liked to be alone, to be with people. So there's ample evidence out there to look at online about what's happening. Now, who did he use to control some of the people that he brought in to get video of people with underage minors? Yeah, who were these people and how did he do it? Well, he had some pretty young ladies he called recruiters. I guess they're called recruiters. And these women, this woman was 30 years old in this picture, so she looked really young, but the other one we're not sure. She may have been underage. And this is a famous movie mogul in the middle, but whether he was involved in this case is really, you know, ridiculous to assume. We have to just assume everyone's innocent in this case, even Prince Andrew at this point, in lieu of the fact that we don't have any hard evidence to implicate these people. And we will get to Prince Andrew's discussion here as we take this to the next level. But it does appear that he got a lot of money from a Powerball win out at his Zorro Ranch, 29 million. I think this happened in the early 90s. Anyway, that's a significant, interesting point of view. I'm going to remove the island here for a second and ask the big question, if you're wondering what's going on. If you don't believe this happened, somehow in the eyes of the media, you're a conspiracy theorist and a domestic terrorist threat. So we're supposed to believe that Epstein hung himself right off the bed there with sheets that were just brought in, even though they were supposed to be paper sheets in that entire cell, and numerous mistakes like video cameras being shut off, There's evidence that there's somebody actually moved him out through a corridor at about 4:30 in the morning and brought a body in. But that's all just anonymous allegations out there on the internet, which may or may not be true. But either way, we know that the death picture of Jeffrey Epstein is not him. So let's go down the road of not being a domestic terrorist and not being a wacky conspiracy theorist, and just come up with the reality that we've got questions and the answers just don't add up. So I'm not here to label people conspiracy theorists. I've never been labeled a conspiracy theorist except by people that don't understand what we're doing. And the Media Verification Alliance truly is dedicated to getting the truth and the photographs and the evidence of real events that happen. And in no way would I even categorize myself as a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in reptilians. I don't believe that aliens have come to this planet. I don't believe those theories, but yet I believe William Cooper, Bill Cooper, who wrote Behold the Pale Horse, and in it talked about the alien agenda, a government plan to divert our attention to aliens. I believe that's possible. I also believe that we're being sprayed with chemtrails on a daily basis. We talk about all these issues in our show. So in no way would I describe even our Conspiracy Monday show solely about conspiracies. In fact, they're about facts, bringing up facts that validate it. So clearly there wasn't a roll of toilet paper there for him to hang on. And the sheets somehow were put in place for him to tie into a knot. And he did break his neck, according to the coroner, which is extremely unusual unless you're being pulled from the gallows and dropped 15 feet. So it's very strange, the fact that the person that did die had a broken neck. And we showed you the bruising. That doesn't match with the suicide at all. So a lot of things are adding up to the huge question, what is really happening? Now, how did he handle big clients like Bill Clinton? Well, he had a woman named Rachel Chandler who was working, and she may be underage in this photo with Bill, on the plane to Orgy Island, but she was working at a close level with Epstein as kind of his handler, Rachel Handler, if you will, Rachel Chandler. And she's got a website out there. She's very upfront about her activities. She's pretty much a person who is in the inside of the elite realm that we live in, with the elites getting whatever they want. Here she is, underage with Eminem. She's like 17 or 16 in this picture. Very interesting connection to Eminem. But she's got connections to almost everybody, and no one knows where she is. But we do know that she has websites out there, like Rachel Chandler Party at Tumblr, in which she takes pictures of famous people like Mick Jagger. I'm not sure this man's name, but they're just going to parties. They're not implicated in anything. Paul McCartney and his wife. You know, these are people that Rachel takes pictures of and hangs out with. So she's got a very popular site. Apparently her friends like it. And I'm just not sure at this point what her connection is, other than knowing all these people. So questions about who she is have popped up, and the Q group actually brought up some important information about something she had posted on her website. Her account had this particular picture on it. This is a photograph of the surveillance cameras that Jeffrey Epstein had back in the day. In 2007, this was taken when he was first arrested and sent to jail. And you look closely at this picture. This was a picture of Jeffrey Epstein's surveillance cameras. It shows something extremely disturbing. In this corner picture right here, there appears to be bodies of children naked, sitting on like 5-gallon buckets. Contrast can be picked up a little bit. We can look at it closer. In detail, you get a better view there. They appear to be eating or doing something at the table with parts of something on top of it. This study of this picture has gone on quite in depth, and it is definitely of an underground dungeon-like environment that Jeffrey Epstein has on his island. How he handles this, one only knows, because he's probably there right now, free, living underground. Very bizarre. Photographs were taken right after he allegedly died. This is a couple days after the 12th. He died allegedly died August 10th. I don't believe he's dead. But you can see photographs of the FBI and the NYPD were there, a task force. Yeah, and there's other photographs like this one of the NYPD in the drone camera footage of the NYPD and FBI sitting there in his main office there, pulling information off the wall. And then they see the drone, and this is again from Rusty Shackelford's drone footage. They see the drone, and then they proceed to cover up the window. You'll see in just a second. They're going to grab boxes to cover up the window, so they didn't want anyone to know really what they were doing, which is suspicious in and of itself. Now, there's no court document that covers this activity by the NYPD. There was no pending civil case that was actively pursuing information in the case. So why the NYPD was there and why why the FBI was there is really a suspicious antidote to the story. And we have to ask bigger questions at this point as to what are they hiding? Right, we've seen photographs of Epstein on the island August 30th. Very suspicious right there. This is August 30th. It was posted by Shackelford at that date. But it may have been taken, a day or two later, but still it was 20 days after Epstein died, allegedly. And there he is. Yeah. So he's on the island assessing the damage from Dorian here. And this drone footage is clearly indicative of that. There's a point at which he actually looks up at the camera completely. Right there, where his head is so far under the lid that you can barely see his face. But there is a picture somewhere in there that would probably show the full detail of his face. I just don't have the equipment to bring that up in close-up. So we're still working on that. The photograph was definitely documented, and it will be presented once we have a closer picture of him at the island alive. But that's the best we've got right now, and it's pretty close. There's no doubt in my mind. And he's got a signature of blue shirt that he wears frequently. You probably recall the time that he wore a blue shirt with Donald Trump. And he often likes light blue shirts for some reason. Epstein was wearing that blue shirt with Donald Trump at the party, if you recall. Here's the picture of his party days. You remember seeing photographs of this, him talking to Trump? Notice he's folding his arms there. Yeah, same kind of thing. Folding his arms. Yep. Doing the same thing. Look at that. Classic. Right. We're going to take a quick look at the people he knew. And I'm going to show you a couple things. He's very close to super famous people. Here's Ghislaine Maxwell talking to Naomi Campbell in 2002. She was kind of the star that lured people in to meet her. Many people, including Dershowitz, Clinton, and etc., Courtney Love, other people very famous, an aggregate group of people around him and his young ladies. Here's Prince Andrew. He categorically denies any involvement with this young girl. He was just meeting Jeffrey Epstein, he claims, at that location. Again, there's not enough solid footage of him that would give us any real insight into what he was actually doing with Virginia Giuffre. But many famous people gathered with Epstein and were involved with him. Right now, I'm going to take a brief look at the possibility that we have a history of Epstein that you can look at up close and personal. And I'm going to bring you that link in the show, but I'm going to post it on the screen right now for all of you to copy. Let me put that out there for you. You can take a still frame of the picture and put it out there, but look for this link. It is my Flipboard library. Now, it's kind of a tough one to actually remember, so I'll just put it out there. But we have a Flipboard account in which we have every imaginable amount of information you'd want to see on many different subjects. And one of the magazines we opened up was the Epstein magazine. And I'm going to show you that right now. Here's what you get when you get to Flipboard. And you see we have many magazines here. If you go to the magazine center right in the middle, click that. Epstein's #1. We've got 5G dangers, environmental concerns about the atmosphere, our commitment to no gun control, documentaries, and this is perhaps the best, 153 News right here. If you click that link, that'll get you to all of our links that have been brought to us, which are very pertinent and are probably only seen on 153news.net because they are mostly banned from YouTube. But this is a great article. Epstein has all the stuff that you'd ever want to see, reviewing everything that we talked about. This is a great discussion by Mark Siegel about how the autopsy was delayed. He's never seen anything like this, and he was taken off suicide watch in 2 weeks, never before seen. And Dr. Mark Spiegel talks about this on Fox. Very important story.
Like in that Manhattan Correctional Center where he died. Fox medical contributor Mark Siegel has answers to both those questions and more. Let's just start with this autopsy, Doctor. Is it unusual for the autopsy to be delayed, the results of it to be delayed as they have been?
Yes, it is unusual, and it makes me wonder. Now, the medical examiner has reportedly said that the cause of death, as Trace just said, is hanging. But they still have to determine exactly how that occurred and whether he actually hung himself. That would be one thing on my mind. The other thing is, suicide is very, very common in prisons. It's actually the #1 cause of death in prisons. 1 out of 3 deaths in prisons are suicide. But this particular facility has only had 1 suicide over the past 40 years. Now, I've been there. The Metropolitan Correctional Center is full of squalor. It's full of vermin. It's a disgusting place. It is not a pretty place at all.
So the question really, why was he given such lax security? And why did this devolve into him getting out at 4:30 in the morning and then no video camera footage in that hallway where he was taken? And we have various people that have talked about that. Going through the links, we've got the fact that Jeffrey Epstein's death was on 4chan before officials announced it. Very unique anomaly. How did somebody get that out? Maybe somebody from the prison at the Metropolitan Correctional Center that sent that out and got some money on 4chan for doing it, or just really cared that somebody find that out. Story after story. The Mark Epstein, his brother, who collects all of his assets. And it seems like his assets were brought down to a smaller level than what we thought he was worth. And his millions and millions of dollars, 577 million, I believe, are going to Mark, his brother. But he's done business with him before, with his brother, Jeffrey. And he can easily move from one account to another and they can shift dollars. It seems like everything he does should be overseen. Yeah, and there's all these connections between the owner of Victoria's Secret and how Epstein used that tool to get women in and claim he was a scout for Victoria's Secret and got young girls in wanting to be, you know, famous, making them. And this is perhaps one of the most interesting little posts that occurred on Reddit, in which someone did some studying of the people that presented the information officially. A guy by the name of Larry Salona at the New York Post was the person that revealed the story about Jeffrey Epstein. It turns out that Larry Salona, or that person named Larry Salona, pen name, also reported the death of Stanley Kubrick, JFK Jr., and all of the NYPD suicides that are surrounding the Anthony Weiner 600,000 email story. And that's another video in and of itself. But I'll discuss that at a later date. But apparently New York PD, they're killing themselves like crazy, and probably because they know too much. And that means they're not being killed, they're being murdered by gunshot. and our government's overlooking it because nobody is able to get to the story that apparently popped out that there was really damning evidence of Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin with a young girl. And that story has been officially suppressed. That's the frazzle drip story. I have no knowledge of it other than there's a story of torture going on in some of those videos that were uploaded to Anthony Weiner's email servers. So very strange coincidence that somebody ran this and found that Larry Salona is an anagram for Royal Lancer. That's right. You look at the words and you can see that the same letters are used in this name Larry Salona as Royal Lancer. Same exact use of the number of letters. It's an anagram. Perfect. So that raised the question, who's Larry Salona? Well, Larry Salona at the New York Post doesn't exist. So for some reason, somebody's using an anagram. Well, it turns out that as things go, Prince Andrew's Captain Badge of the 9th and 12th Royal Lancers. He's a member of the Royal Lancers and he's the commander. The Colonel-in-Chief is the Duke of York. So he's the Colonel-in-Chief and commander of the Royal Lancers. This ties very neatly back into the story about him and his supposed connections to Jeffrey Epstein, which we know, were real. And then we ask the question, what else do we know about Prince Andrew? So I'm going to do a little bit of work right now in front of you, and this is how a lot of this research is done. We go back into our history file, which we get from our show every night, and I research and go right into it and type in, say, Prince Andrew. And see what I've seen on my, and I'm looking for a Twitter account. Here it is. This is the story. Here he is, the day that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself. I'm going to show you what looks like a very happy guy, okay? There he is with his queen mother, just absolutely jubilant. Look at that. The day that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly died, Prince Andrew's problems disappeared in his mind. He doesn't have a worry in the world. Isn't that nice for him? But not really nice for us, because we are left with lots of questions. And I want to thank you for watching this particular episode. I tried to keep it short, but I brought every bit of evidence I have up to date into the show, and I gave you as much as I can regarding this. If you want to dig deeper, every one of these stories on my Flipboard takes you deeper and deeper into what appears to be an endless discussion about pedophiles, connections to politicians and very important people in Hollywood, and a suppression called Pizzagate. And Pizzagate has been an overwhelming suppression of information. We talk about it frequently because we have to. It's been banned on Twitter and Reddit. You can't talk about Pizzagate or you lose your account. Now that's not something a free and open nation with a dedication to the press and revealing information is going to happen. You're not going to see banned words, but yet we're seeing banned words in this country. So if you're concerned about where our country's headed and you're beginning to think that your two-party vote isn't amounting to anything, welcome to America's third party, because we really are the beginning of the new political movement in America, and we're starting it not right now. We started it 11 years ago, and we've been working diligently to fight through censorship and unbelievable attacks online to keep this message rolling. So as we continue to do shows, you'll be seeing more videos on 153news.net, but we have to get these messages out there because the media is suppressing the entire idea that Jeffrey Epstein is alive. And he really, truly is. And this is what we are all about. In case you want to check out our site at 5 p.m., we do our live show, and we play videos in the evening too, past 10 p.m. all the way to 1 a.m. in the morning. So we've got about an 8-hour chunk of nonstop political discussions. I also am welcoming people from the right who are beginning to be a little dissatisfied with Donald Trump, especially considering he supports the 5G network, which many people are starting to freak out about. He also has been very flip-floppy about gun control, now embracing the red flag laws that Lindsey Graham is proposing. And he's even talking about using social credit to determine whether you should have a gun. Now, I don't think you should support Donald Trump in the 2020 election, folks. I'm the guy who's been presenting great ideas for the past 11 years and has actually been copied by Donald Trump many, many times. And many of my ideas have been used by him to get noticed. And I think you should just settle down and become centrist like all of us. And many people are coming from the left and realizing the importance of people like Ron Paul and how important it is to end the Fed. And you folks are definitely tuning into the corruption at both sides of the political spectrum. So welcome to us, America.